Hello, I am Daniel Siebert, and this is Male Point of View Monday. As many of you in Therapy Thursday have asked, you want a man's perspective on what the heck is your guy thinking? Of course, it's never easy trying to figure it out, and to be honest with you, I'm not that good at figuring it out half the time because most of the men that you will probably ask me about, I would think honestly, there was something a little wrong with them. But with our first letter from Impatient, you will find that there's really nothing wrong with him. He's actually just a guy on the right track, actually. So let's jump right in. Impatient writes, hey, okay. So my better half and I have been seeing a therapist since February, mostly because when we have a little fight, he would blow up in the biggest way. He'd yell, get in my face, say horrible mean things, kick me out. He even called the cops on me one time. We have a 19-month-old beautiful son who we love dearly. We're trying to give him the best life we can, but David's anger holds me back. Sometimes I'd fight back, but then I'd just become so numb I would just sit there or leave, and that made it worse. I love him so much. He is my best friend. But the other part of him I can't stand. Long story short, the therapy has helped so much. Our therapist has diagnosed him with anxiety for sure, maybe slight depression. She thinks his previous marriage has a lot to do with his anger, and he is taking it out on me, which he's owned up to, which is true, and I will get to that. She was a psycho, as many exes are, to be honest with you. They dated 6 months. She talked him into going to the courthouse and getting married without telling anyone. And all along she was sleeping with her ex. She kept taking her back. He kept taking her back over and over. He and I were friends through all of this. So finally he leaves her. We get close and start dating for about 3 months. Then towards the end of his divorce, he broke up with me. He needed space. She was tormenting him, stalking us, wouldn't sign the papers, cleaned out his bank account. So basically making his life a living hell, right? 3 months later, he came back, professed his love. It was the perfect fairy tale story. Dot dot dot. Then I started seeing the anger. We've now been together 3 years. Got unexpectedly pregnant, had to buy a house, move in together, etc., etc. He won't pop the question. I'm getting so impatient. I feel like the rebound who will never get a chance to be his wife because of his ex bitch. She fucked him up. The therapist agrees, and until he lets go of that anger, she doesn't think we should get married. How long does someone wait? Why should I feel punished? I put up with his hog side and with, stood by him and with him through therapy. When can I have what I want? Am I a total bitch for thinking this way? Impatient. Many people have gone through what you have. One of the main problems I'm seeing here is baggage. As you'll see, you brought this. Everybody like my little Victoria's Secret bag? Yep, that's how much baggage you seem to have brought into this based on where you're at. See, not very much, only about as big as my head. You know, my head's not that big. Might be, but I'm pretty sure it isn't. Whereas he brought this. Say hello to the moving box. Yes. By the way, these hash browns are pretty good. Um, as you can see, the size difference is quite big. That bag will fit in that box. The reason for him having so much baggage is, as you mentioned, is because of his ex. Uh, in order for him to actually be a full part of this relationship, he's going to have to work through that, or he can't give you what you want. You did ask the question, when do I get what I want? And the answer is when he's able to give you that. And at this point, he's not able to give you that. I know he wants to marry you. I mean, you've been with him through a lot. I'd want to marry you if I was in his shoes. So, just saying, it is there. But he's smart enough to know that with what he has to deal with right now, probably will not get there. And, I do have to commend him for going to therapy. So many men, I know myself would have a hard time with it. We don't like to accept help. We don't like to accept that there's a problem we cannot handle. So kudos for you for probably dragging him there kicking and screaming, because that's how I'd go. So now, on a more serious note, there is one thing you mentioned that really, really, really does, it bothers me. And the reason it bothers me is because, you see, you have a 19-year-old son involved, which you mentioned it's half his, half yours, and, you live together. So, I mean, if he had more control over his anger, I could see it not happening. But what I worry about is fighting in front of this child, because a child, much like, right here, the video camera that's recording me right now, that's just like a child. They see all these images and they get stored in their head, and it affects their behavior, especially when they're so young. Their brain is growing at it's the second largest growing period of their time, is actually from 0 to 3, which is why they complain about their arms hurting and their legs hurting, because that is their second biggest growing period. So the child is actually taking in all this information, and it's being stored subconsciously. I don't know about you, but I personally can't remember much before I was 6. I don't know if that has to do with a concussion or not, but I mean, I don't really remember that far back. I can't remember when I was 19 months old. I mean, but it's there. So whatever your child sees is gonna come back, and he might see, hey, there's mommy and daddy, and they're kissing, and things are great. They love each other. Kids are always smarter than what you think they are. Remember that. They are smarter than what you think they are. They figure stuff out pretty quick, especially in that phase. And then next thing you know, he sees daddy in mommy's face, going at her, and she's crying, and it hits that, love is kissing and, being nice, but then, she must be in trouble, and this is how, you treat your partner when they're in trouble, because that's what I'm like when I'm in trouble. So it comes down to the point where you really need to look at yourself and look at your situation, and I don't maybe set some ground rules, for fighting around the child. I don't know if you've tried that, and I don't know if it works, or if it works if you have it in place. But definite rules for fighting around children. My wife and I try not to fight around our children. It's the biggest blow up we had. My son was right there. I had a horrible blow up. He's crying. I'm angry, and I wish I could take that back, but I can't. You know, my son has seen this. My youngest, he's seen this one. My oldest one has heard us argue a lot, but we usually tell them to go upstairs, do something else, get away from us while we're hashing out our problems. Going back to him, one of the things, what he's doing, and your therapist probably already told you this, but in case she hasn't, and for the others who are watching, what he's doing is called projecting. Okay, it's a bad anger management tool. He still has so much built up anger and frustration that when the moment comes and that tension hits, he starts seeing you as her. So, and don't get me wrong, I know you're not her. I don't want you to be offended, but he doesn't see that. Yeah, he sees a woman he's in a relationship with, and his past experiences have been with a woman he's in a relationship with, and she still has a hold on him like this. So he's fighting her, not you. You just happen to be in that spot. It's a wrong place, wrong time situation. You mentioned trying to escape, and it makes matters worse. Um, you need to work with him to set a time to where, and start seeing the signs that he's about to lose it. I mean, would be one of the things I'm going to request to you. See the signs when he's about to lose it, and then you guys need to have a word to where, okay, this needs to end. You need to go someplace and chill out now. That's why, I'm the same way. I don't like to be in an argument unless I'm calmed down, because then my brain can logically think things out, and I don't throw temper tantrums. But it doesn't always happen. So, like I'm saying, set a keyword or something to where he can to where when he's still pretty much calm, he can get, okay, this is going to get out of hand and you're going to come at me again. Other than that, I pray for you. I pray the best for you. And impatient, God be with you in this time. I know it's not easy, but I I don't know if I said it before, but I'm going to say it now. I agree with the therapist. You cannot have him until he is ready, and he's not ready yet. But if you wait, he will be everything you can see him to be. So, hope that answered my question to you. I hope that gave you the insight. I hope that kind of helped anybody else out there who's been dealing with this. Um, so, this is Daniel. Don't forget, this is, I'm going to call this 1 out of 2 for our first Monday male point of view. Alright, love you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.